Welcome to the demonstration of urban forest metrics, and in particular, the demonstration for doing inventories. And inventories are done not just by cities looking to catalog their trees and do planning, but also even by individual arborists. This is often a service they do, or it's how they manage their proposal generation process when they go to a household with a large number of trees. So we'll jump right in to show you what the end product looks like, because that sometimes is pretty helpful. We often will be concentrating on maps. And this is an example of a quick inventory that was done in Colorado, where we just exported it to the open mapping format. That's called KML. And we opened it up here in Google Earth. It could also be opened up in ArcMap, or if your client has a particular mapping application, or the city does, they'll be able to open it up and put it in there. This also allows us to make pretty maps and to even use them for analysis. If I click on any one of these points, you will see critical information about the tree. We can even have recommendations and all sorts of notes and things from the field, from the hand units. So that's maps, and we can do maps in a variety of different ways, and we can include these maps in various reports and analyses we do. But we also have other types of reports. We have, for instance, what we call PDF reports. These are simply inventories, and there's lots of different formats for this. This one happens to have 2 trees per page, and it includes pictures. This is an inventory up in Seattle, and you can see they look pretty nice. This is the critical information about the tree, recommendations, notes and defects. Most arborists have very particular preferences for what gets included here and how, and sometimes their clients, particularly cities, are very, very specific about that. So we're happy to adapt that to your purposes. And that's a service we offer for free as part of subscribing to Urban Forest Metrics. So, and we can also export, of course, all of this to Excel, so you can create tables and manipulate the data and all that kind of fun stuff. So we'll move on to, well, how do you do an inventory? And I'm going to go ahead and open up what is probably a more typical interface. Let's see, which would look like this. And here we see we have what we call our main tree screen. And the critical thing to remember is that different people are going to be doing inventories. It might be a city arborist, it might be a commercial arborist, it might be volunteer tree commission people. And they're going to have varying levels of knowledge and varying levels of sophistication. So we can actually include in this several different interfaces. The one we have here is a more complex one, because it would be one that an arborist would use to enter in lots of different diverse information. But typically with an inventory, you're just doing the quick basics. It's really an efficiency game. You're trying to see if you can get between 30 seconds and 2 minutes per tree. You're entering in information as you're walking between one and the other to get that information in so that you can then do analysis. And here's how that would work. I would just go ahead and, from the tree I'm standing at, start walking to the next one. I might go ahead and press the plus button here. I now have tree number 5. I choose a species, chestnut apparently, and I can immediately take a picture. And I might want to do that before I actually get to the tree, because we have different pictures you can place here. One's called setting, and I could, just by touching this on the hand unit, my camera would pop up and I could put the picture in this field. And that's important, because there's no more taking pictures of trees and then later trying to match them up. It's all done in the field. You take a picture with the device, it's now in the database associated with that visit with this tree. It's all set for later analysis. And we can take pictures of other things, crown, trunk, root flare, and again, this is customized to your preference. Once we arrive at the tree, we'll often identify where it is, a GPS location. I can click on the GPS button, but that turns out not to be necessarily the most accurate. What's more convenient is actually for me to touch our touch locate button. And you'll see that a map comes up of where we are, and I can go ahead and say, we are at this tree right there. And now it's just created tree number 5 there on the map. I can see them in relation to others. Typically, when you're doing this on an iPad or iPhone, your finger can touch it close enough to the trunk that we're seeing an average about 2 or 3 feet variance from absolute center, whereas the GPS will often be 12 or 15 feet off. So this is a pretty handy thing if you want to show a map like this later and know that these are actually lining up with the trees. So your protocol for doing inventory will vary, and you might do it differently for different trees. If you're going out to do hazard assessments, you're going to put in a lot of information. If you're having volunteers go out just to cover the streets, you're probably going to have maybe 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 fields that people fill out. And that might be species, and we can, as you saw, choose the common species, or we can choose a Latin, and it will change the common name. Put in a DBH. Maybe we're putting in some information about the condition of the tree. We find that oftentimes folks are not. We might do a height. We might do a few other things. There might be some notes, and all of these notes can be voice notes. So you can actually, when you're on your device, just click the microphone button and speak, and it will type for you all the text that you're saying. And that's about it. There's a few other things you could add in. We could put in drip line radius and other things. We could even make recommendations for services that need to be done to this tree. We could note conflict information. But that's the basic stuff. You're just rocking and rolling, going from tree to tree to tree, often 30 seconds per tree. It's extremely efficient to do it this way. And then you see the inventory being constructed before your eyes. We can even zoom out. This is using Google Earth, or rather Google Maps, so we can see what's going on. So once you have an inventory, this becomes pretty useful. And we have a philosophy where there's 2 types of inventories. There's living inventories and dying or dead inventories. And when you do an inventory, and that inventory is shorn from your day-to-day process of what you do with trees, then it's going to be dead pretty immediately. Because if you're not updating it, it's not useful. A living inventory is hard to do. A living inventory requires not just the information to be here, but a system that lets you use it. So that's really important to us. So when we come back to a tree, we can just pull this up on our iPhone, on our iPad. We can walk up to any one of these trees and click on the nearest tree button, and it's going to pull up that record. And then we can look at the visits. I'll just pick the first tree, and we have several visits here. We can actually select the different visits and see the different information that was true at different points in time. Or we can create a new visit by just pressing add a visit. We don't necessarily need to bump into all of these different tabs of information, because we can see right here which ones have been filled out at which times. So this becomes a very, very helpful record system, so that when we come out and we do a treatment, let's say we're putting fungicide in an elm, or we're doing trimming, we can just go ahead, select the visit we're on, and add that information. We might note a conflict on this particular one. And I'll say, okay, we have power line conflicts 3 feet away, put in a note. When I come back here, we'll now see that there's a piece of information there for that visit. We can also use this system to make recommendations for services for trees. We might click on a new service for this particular tree and say it needs an anthracnose treatment. We might put in notes. There's lots of additional information we could put in. And again, all of these fields are customizable. We can add, change the value lists, all that sort of stuff. And this can be rolled up into a proposal document that's very easy just to send right from here via a PDF. So it really comprises a system that doesn't just get the information in, but then becomes useful to the individuals who touch your trees. And if it's useful to them, they'll have the system with them, and then they'll be adding more information, and that's what a living inventory is. So thanks for watching, for making it this far, and if you have any questions, take a look at our site, forestmetrix.com, and Metrix is Metrix.com. We have additional videos, and feel free to contact us if you'd like a personalized demonstration to see if this is suitable for your particular institution. We'd be happy to talk to you. Thanks.